Tafadhali tuketi. Thank you. Please, let's be seated. I am going to have to learn to get used to people standing for you or calling you the other things. I have been here for the last 2 days, held about 6 meetings, and I've had a very good time here. Good evening. Habari zenu. How are you? The energy and the excitement I feel in the room is very dangerous. I told you last evening that an old man friend of mine advised me that be very careful when you face an audience that is very excited, and don't be carried away. Be careful about the things you say when you are facing very excited people. I'm going to be very excited, but I'm going to be very careful, sorry. But let me start by saying this. My dear brothers and sisters, all of you wonderful people who have come here, left your work, left your schedules to be here this evening. I want you to know sincerely from the bottom of my heart, I'm very deeply humbled and I'm very grateful. Thank you so much. Our religious leaders who are here, Imam Sadiq, Pastor Spora, Pastor Okioma, and all of you members of the clergy who are here, including those who prayed for us, I want to thank you very sincerely for your time. And all of you leaders from across this country, especially the leaders of the various organizing committees, I thank you very sincerely from the bottom of my heart. The people of Minnesota, let me say this. First of all, Mr. John McCory, you asked me to evaluate you. I give you a straight Matiangi A. I'm famous for very few A's, so yeah, he says I made him not go to university. But anyway, so thank you so much. I mean, you've done a spectacular job putting all of us here, and the way you have organized is true. Yes, I've been in meetings for the last 24 hours, but I don't feel it because of the energy, the love, the commitment that I've seen here. So I want to thank you, all of you leaders from Minnesota who are here, for the wonderful work you have done. This place is very interesting. I said last night, those who were there, and Pastor, I keep, I met a lot of my friends here, both boys and girls. My boyfriends and my girlfriends, and as I said last night, Pastor, don't take me to the church board. They are girls who are my friends, not, English has a problem. It cannot, because if this was Kiswahili, or if this was mother tongue, I would be able to tell the distinction. But because in Kiswahili, I would tell you about wapenzi, and those others. But now English is weak, so it's, So the girls who are your friends are your girlfriends, or they were your girlfriends, classmates. But I mean it, and you know that, Pastor. It's not in that other way you think. So, as I said, after this meeting, this is the last event I have. I am going back home. I have no intentions of going to sleep in the doghouse or in the DSQ. And my wife decides that I need to explain exactly what I meant by girlfriends. But Pastor, if I need a recommendation, you give me. Anyway, thank you so much, wonderful people. Thank you for being here. And I want to take very few minutes. First of all, I love this meeting and I love the gatherings we have had here because we have met as Kenyans. My brothers who have traveled across the country. I'm very, very grateful. I introduced Manyora and his dear wife last night, and a number of people who have come along, who have been working with us in trying to put this together and ensuring that we begin a conversation. My friend, Dr. Onyango, Omari, and your dear wife from California, and many of you people, we've had long stories, and our lives have interacted in various ways. So I'll be played, and I'll start with a very simple story. 2 years ago, 3 years now, when we left the government, after the elections of 2022, I took up an assignment with the World Bank here in Washington, D.C. The nature of my assignment was such that I could not be allowed, under the terms of service, to come to town hall meetings like this. I kept quiet, looked out for some of my friends and my former classmates like Professor Otiso. So when you see him speaking here as a professor, that's how we were taught. That's how smart our class was. If I may brag. Then, slowly, we had this conversation about our country and so on and so forth. By last year, 2024, when demonstrations began that you guys saw, and the Gen Zs demonstrating, people asking questions. I mean, quite frankly, I began to get this pressure and questions from people. Why don't you go to public life? Why don't you come back and contribute? It became very serious. Sometimes, because I have gone home every time I had leave, because I didn't have a problem, I did not run away from my country. I never hide, bend, or shrug from responsibility. And I'm ready to answer questions anyone may have about my life. So, I met people, and some of them people I take very seriously. Walk up to you sometimes at social places, restaurants, ordinary people. I had an experience where I went to Westlands one time to have coffee with some friends of mine. I couldn't even actually sit down and have coffee because everybody, the waiters, everybody come there, they ask me, CS, mbona mnatuacha namna hii bwana? Why don't you, tunazama, and so on, things, why are you doing this? Until it now began to look like I am committing a crime if I am not going to participate in what is going on. So when some of the faith-based leaders in our country, some of whom I respect a lot, said, and all of you wonderful people will relate to this, that when people like Pastor Spora here or Imam Sadiq tell you they want to see you, they usually don't see people just like that. They usually are carrying a very heavy message because they are not ordinary people. You know who they speak for sometimes. So then they tell you, let us have a meeting. I met a number of them. They ask me now, CS, you disappointed us in 2022. We thought you were going to be on the ballot. You didn't go. So now, are you guys going to watch like this as the country goes out? So here is my first answer, Dr. Bogonko, to your questions. I am in this, and I decided, after speaking to a lot of people and listening to some of you and others, that let me go and make my contribution to my country and take my experience and the years of service that I've had, the knowledge I have of government, and put my colleagues together, work together with them to try and fix some of the challenges we have in the country. So, as I stand here tonight, I bring you greetings from my colleagues whom I'm working with, the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, who is in Texas right now. Sends his regards to you. The Honorable Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka. whom we work. Honorable Mother Karua, who was here a while ago, and my brother, my friend, and my colleague in cabinet, the Honorable Eugene Wamalwa. We've been having conversations among ourselves and many other people, on how do we go forward from here and what do we do for our country? And when you ask me, people are saying, who am I? Where did I come from? There are people in this room. I have seen people here since I came to Minnesota. I grew up with, people I went to school with. I grew up in the village, walking to school, 5 kilometers in the morning, 5 kilometers for lunch, 5 kilometers back to school after lunch, and 5 kilometers back home in the evening. So that was like 20 kilometers a day. Because that is true. Prof, if you estimate the distance from my home to Manga Primary School is like 5 kilometers. And then I was there in primary school, we were together. I said last night I'm one of those people who does not need to go to court together in order to prove that I went to school. Because I'm not like some people in Kenya who claim, because when I was Minister for Education, I used to tell people, the easiest way to destroy a country is to begin with this rubbish about people who have got to go to court to look for court orders to prove that they went to school. Because if you went to school, how did you go to a school where you don't have a classmate, you don't have a teacher, and you are depending on a judge to make a ruling that you actually went to school. My friends, I want to tell you this. There is a way in which we have destroyed our country by this silly behavior, doing things that normal people don't do. Because you see, going to school is a black and white situation. You either went or did not go. Yeah. And I used to tell people, I am not the one who wrote the law. I believe that you can be a good leader even if you actually do not have a degree, but you wrote the law in parliament and said for you to be governor, you actually need a degree. So respect the law. As it were, you wrote the law. Because that dishonesty is a subject I will go to another day, but I can tell you this. We've had people who have actually served as governors in Kenya who did not go to university. They bought papers, they carried papers, they went to court, got some order, bribed some electoral institution, and approved them. I was the Minister for Education when the Commission for University Education one time, a candidate presented a certificate, and please, I'm not, religious leaders who are in the room, I am not looking down upon you. This guy had attended a conference of religious leaders somewhere in South America, and they gave him a certificate of participation in Spanish or Latin. Then he took it to IEBC. Then they cleared it. He said it's a certificate. I did a master's. When later on they found a translator, they said no, it says certificate of participation. This is not a degree. That's why I'm telling you, one candidate for position of governor presented a PhD certificate that she couldn't even defend. When someone asked her, what was your thesis on? She said, what is a thesis? How would you have, I know we are innovators in Kenya, but some innovation is it's a joke, as it were. So, my brothers and sisters, Dr. Bogongo, that's the story of my life. Grew up with all these wonderful people you see here, Professor Otiso, going to Manga Primary School. And sometimes I tell media when they challenge me and Gen Zs who are in the room, I didn't drop from Mars or from Jupiter. And I have lived this life. Simple, what you see is what you get, straightforward, raised by parents who are, materially poor, but very rich in spirit and love for us and commitment. The other day, I was telling some lawyers here in a room that, and this is the last thing I will say on that particular score, that one day I will tell the whole story in full length in my book when it comes out, that I would never have gone to school, or I would never have finished school without my mother. My mother is the most patient person on earth, because this is interesting. Every day between, I think, standard 1 and standard 3, every single day I went to school, I lost my pencil. I frankly don't know how it got lost, but I lost it. Kefa is here, he can testify to that. I think in climbing trees, eating guavas in Mosoti's compound, and so on, somehow, I mean, it was some miserable thing you could not manage properly. It just gets lost. I didn't know what used to happen. And my mother worked hard. I mean, I don't know anybody in this world who's more patient. She would go to the market and sell milk, sell her wares. And every Sunday come home, she would go to the market twice a month. Once a fortnight, she would be at the marketplace. Then she buys a set of pencils. And then she comes and cuts each one of them into 3. Because she knows that I am actually going to lose that one. And every single morning, I don't know anybody more patient than that. Every single morning, she would sharpen one for me to go with to school. She tried all gymnastics to help me keep the pencil, including creating a hole here, on your collar. She cut my shirt and created a hole and told me, listen very carefully, when you're finished writing, put it back in there. When you climb the tree, it will not get lost. It will still be there. But I still lost it. I don't know. It still got disappeared. But there's no day I went to school without a pencil. She even made some string, made some marks around it, and tied the string and tied it around my neck and said, look, it will not get lost now. Even if you run, it will still be there. So come back with it in the evening. There's no day I went back home with a pencil. So that is how we grew up. I think the problem was, Kefa, as you remember, is the wavas in Mosoti's compound that were a problem. Because we would go to climb there during break time and so on, and then the damn thing gets lost and so on. But she did not stop giving me a pencil every day. So we are humble. That's why when we discuss these things about the leadership of our country, about the future of our country, that we are moving forward, we mean it. I mean, it's from here. And now, I'll dedicate the next few minutes of my speech to the serious stuff, away from my troublesome pencil.